Hey everybody, back out here working on EVETTE again. And today we are working on rerouting our water pump outlet hose to the radiator. Our old setup that we have right there is not going to work anymore because our space constraints have gotten much tighter. So my plan is, I've got this 90 coming off now. I'm going to use another 90. It's going to be a real short section of hose. And then I'm going to cut off this straight outlet right here and weld this 90 on, and that should put us in pretty good shape. So let's get that done, and then we'll probably jump onto the intercooler tubes. So here's what we're working with. Got a 90. The hose is almost non-existent. There's maybe a 1/4 inch of it. The other 90 and another 90-degree fitting going into the radiator. I'm not 100% confident that I'll be able to remove my little hose contraption there once this 90 is welded on, but you guys know me, I love to find out the hard way. So here we go. Turns out that it actually works perfectly. If I loosen up this top 90 first, I can just completely back this one right out and it slides right off. So I got everything all welded up and the radiator's good to go again. Now we're gonna go ahead and focus on the intercooler to the turbo. I did get some special connectors and I'll show those to you right now, but I'm a little concerned about the way they work and the way my tubings have to be oriented. I'll show you what I mean in a sec. So this is the clamping system I decided to go with for my intercooler piping on account of I hate the silicone couplers. And I thought they were really cool until I got them and realized that the way they fit together is in a slip fit fashion. And the reason why I think that's going to be a problem is because if we have a slip fitting here and then we have a slip fitting here, I don't see how you're going to be able to make the intercooler tube actually slide together as one piece, if that makes sense. Because I mean, you might be able to put it in onto the turbo, but there's no way you're going to also be able to slide it in to the intercooler as well. So I'm a little concerned about this working out. I will be doing a little bit of brainstorming here to see what we can come up with. Hopefully it won't be anything too crazy and we won't have to use the silicone couplers again, but if we have to, we have to, because everyone, not a lot going on today. I did manage to get the passenger side intercooler tubing done, and I'm happy to report that the clamps do work. It's a tight fit, trying to squeeze them together, but check it out, it looks pretty great. I'm gonna go seamless on the intercooler tube there. Still needs a little bit of sanding and then a polish, but there's the clamp set up. As you can see, we are golden. So I am waiting on a tight radius 90 like this one for the driver's side here before we can go ahead and get started on that, because there's just no way I'm gonna get the intercooler piping out otherwise. It's gotta come just like the other side out this way and go back down. So we're gonna be waiting to finish that side, and that means we'll be working on something else tomorrow, but that looks killer. I'm really happy with it. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Good night. Hey, what's going on everybody? Back on EVETTE again today, and what we're gonna be working on today, since I still haven't gotten that 90 to put on the driver's side turbo there, I'm gonna be working on the cage. My plan is to add some gussets here in either 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 on both sides. I'm also gonna gusset the A-pillar to the A-pillar of the car all the way down. And I was thinking I might do the roof up here, but I might leave that alone. I'm also getting started on tearing out the brake pedal assembly so that I can add in my electronic brake booster from a Tesla Model 3 series. And I've already got the steering column ripped out. Just have to drain the brake system, and then I can drop that pedal box out and tear off those master cylinders for the brakes, figure out my linkage setup. But first, let's get the cage done. Since the seat is sitting here anyways, I might as well notch in comfort. So I got both pieces notched, and I got both pieces about halfway welded in. Check it out, this is what we're looking like. Gonna finish getting them welded in, and then I'll start making paper templates for the sheet metal gusset that's gonna attach the A-pillars. And then I'll go ahead and cut those out, get some holes punched in it, get them dimple dyed, and hopefully then I'll be stripping this cage down and prepping it for paint because I'm tired of it rusting. Anybody got any suggestions of what color I should do the cage for the car? Let me know in the comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and do these inside joints right here, and as you can see, I've got about a mile of the tungsten sticking out. The only way you're ever really gonna get away with that, in my experience so far, is to have one of these Fupa 12 cups. They're really a killer. You just gotta turn the argon up, and you will not fry your tungsten when you need that extra reach. Check out my welds. Pretty proud. All right, now that the outside half is done, we're gonna finish the inside. As you can see, it's not ideal, but it never is when you're doing a cage work or almost any kind of work on a car. I'll tell you what, it's one hell of a lot easier to access this than it was to access the joint on this tube behind this plate and around this corner. I had to bend the tungsten at a 90-degree angle like that. It was not fun. So this should be a walk in the park. So you remember how the welds looked on the outside where I was in a good position, really nice and uniform, right? Well, for me, unfortunately, the reality is the harder the position gets, the less pretty the welds get. I mean, they're not ugly by any means, but my uniformity really suffers when I am in a crummy position. I'm gonna go ahead and just fill in these last sections that I have to stretch the tungsten way out for. And then we'll go ahead and jump over onto the other side there. And then we can move on to step 2. Corner gussets are completely done. Super happy with the way they came out. I don't think they're too small or anything, honestly. I think that's just perfect. No, not gonna block my line of sight at all or anything. And now we're gonna go ahead and move on to making paper templates to connect this area to this area. Oops, gosh dang, that thing's hot still. But anyways, yeah, let's get started. You guys already know the deal. Got one of my favorite tools, the scissors, marker, and our paper. Here is our rough template for the next set of gussets. I think we're about ready to transfer it to metal and get them cut out, start drilling some holes. Let's check if it fits the other side first. Expected, it's a pretty dang good fit. I paid extra special attention when making the cage that both sides were pretty uniform. All right, I transferred the paper templates to my sheet metal here. Went ahead and did it with 8 gauge because I don't have 16 and I'm not gonna buy 16 just to make a couple of gussets for the A-pillars. I just wanted to say one more time real quick. I know I have in prior videos, but this electric shear, it's just amazing. I mean, if I were to cut those pieces out by hand, I'd still be cutting. I did it in like 2 minutes. And this is what we're looking like. A little bit of tweaking, punch some holes in there. And then I was gonna order some dimple dies to do it, but I think I'll just take it over to my buddy Zach's house and punch a couple dimples in there real quick, bring them back, get them stitch welded in the car, and then move on to the next thing. But it's gonna look killer. Got them both rough mocked up. Just figured I'd show you guys before I pull them out and start punching holes through it. Gonna look killer. I went ahead and clamped both pieces down to my work surface here, and I'm just shooting a pilot hole through each marking that I made. I made them 1.5 inch separation down the line, and after I get the pilot hole drilled, I'll go ahead and gradually step up to, I think we'll go with a 1/2 inch dimple die. But we'll see what it looks like once we get there. If it's too small, we'll go bigger. All right, so I think the 1/2 inch holes are gonna be okay. Once we dimple die it, I believe it's probably gonna make a dimpled down surface of almost 1 inch, so it's gonna be all right. I would like to point out, you see this second line here that I didn't drill the holes on? Yeah, that's the line that I was supposed to drill the holes on. I went ahead and made that line second because I wasn't completely happy with how close the holes were gonna be to the tube. But my dumbass completely thought this was the second line, so we're just gonna go with that. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, so it's all good. And yeah, all we gotta do now is take these over to Zach's, press some dimples in them, and get them welded in. But we'll save that for tomorrow because it's dinner time. I'll catch you guys later. Bye. Everyone, well, I got the elbow that I was waiting for right here for the driver's side turbo. So I pulled the compressor cover off. We're gonna lop off this section right here and get that elbow welded on there. Well, I had a lot of fun doing this side. To start off with, welding this elbow onto the turbo here was a real pain in the ass. It wasn't welding well at all. I was struggling real bad. What it ended up being though was I had to preheat it because the material is so thick. Once I preheated it with the oxyacetylene torch, bead laid down real smooth. There's a lot of areas that I already screwed up pretty bad trying to do it cold, and it looks pretty ugly, so I'll probably end up just filing it down. But you know, the same thing happened on the middle joint of the intercooler tubes, just like the passenger side. And I believe the reason for that was that these tubes weren't new. Everything was used and kind of dirty. I did clean it as best I could. I made the mistake on the passenger side of using my belt sander and not filing it after, and that was a disaster. This side I didn't use the belt sander at all, only file, and it still gave me a lot of trouble. I really don't know why. You know, the ends turned out real nice, but you know, the beautiful thing about aluminum is that all I had to do is file it down and sand it out and repolish it. It'll look like a one-piece tube. Actually, it'll look pretty cool, so I'm not really tripping. It's done. Got the dimples punched into my A-pillar plates over at Zach's house, and it came out really nice. And what I've been doing for the last half an hour or so is just fine-tuning the final shape that I wanted, and I think I've got it pretty close. It's a lot thinner than the original design, but I think it'll look a lot better. So I'm gonna get the template traced onto the other one here, get them cut out, and then we'll get them welded in. All right, so I got them both trimmed up. This is how they're looking. I think it's about where I want it to be, so I'm done with the trimming. I've gone and grabbed my die grinder here with a little 3M pad on it. I'm gonna clean up the tube. I'm gonna remove the paint on the inside of that joint. If that doesn't do it, that's what that new fancy little belt sander's for. So let's get this cleaned up and get these pieces welded in. This belt sander is amazing. Does a really good job of cleaning tight and hard to get areas. So we're gonna go ahead and get this piece tacked in now. All right, I got the second side welded in, and yeah, just check it out for yourselves. Really happy with the way this came out. Some of my finest work. Anyways, next up on the agenda, gonna be Scotch brighting as much of the cage as possible, and then getting some paint on it. And I am looking for suggestions, so if any of you has any input on that, let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like and share. I'll catch you guys on the next one.